But then I'm kind of rethinking my thinking, and I do think that maybe it's time for the Democrats to do a little bit of this postmortem, because the Democratic Party has always been the party of the working class, has always been. If you look at all the policies, they're for the people. And I think even myself, as someone who grew up in abject poverty from the Bronx, my parents lived paycheck to paycheck. They had to decide whether or not they were going to feed me or whether or not we were going to have heat. And I remember that. And I think I missed the boat in terms of realizing that there are so many Americans that still have that experience that I grew up with and that members of my family grew up with. And so it is up to those of us who remember how that feels or who cares about that to reach out and say, come back, we can help you. And I intend myself, what little I can do, to try to do that more.
What? I don't believe this. She's got her hands across her chest, saying, now I admit I was wrong. From now on, I'm going to say the truth and nothing but the truth. Wow, Sonny. Okay, let's see how this goes.
In the article, he quotes, I forgot the exact quote, but he said something about how it's become the party of college professors and, it's this removed group of highly educated. And I think the conversations around that, because the people on the other side were voting for Donald Trump, oftentimes those voters were kind of put in a bucket of not being smart and spoken down to. So I think it's a strange thing, because I don't even fully identify what the Democratic Party is anymore. It's not recognizable to me.
I do think it was trade deals feeling like America's being taken advantage of, and it affects the jobs that are largely working class and more industrial based, agriculture driven. And it was the border. It's not because they're like, oh, I'm nervous that somebody's going to come take my job. It's they know that big corporations take advantage of cheap labor, and those people are going to get employed while they're struggling to make ends meet. And I just want to say one thing, because Fetterman said something so interesting on the show we never discussed. I've used the term, Donald Trump's a convicted felon. I can't support that. But I think a lot of this country feels like we put people in a box if they're a convicted felon, even if they served their time, they paid their debt to society.
And we think it's got to be gone now.
And we think that they shouldn't be able to get ahead. And I actually think that backfired for Democrats.
Yeah,
I think that didn't like the name call.
Now, they say that. They say, if we find out something, we'll let you know. But I don't know if they will.
I absolutely think the government knows what's going on. I don't hate that they're not telling us, because I actually think my theory is, and this is not educated or academic, is that they are testing technology for a time when we could need it. And I actually, because when you think about it, drones,
That's very doomsday, Sarah.
Well, they can go up to like $1 million. These drones are not cheap. Yeah. So someone with a lot of money.
Not the Christmas gift drones?
No. Those are not. No. But I think that they can do infrared. They can do a lot of things looking down. And I think they might be scanning and testing things. And I don't want them telling us, because then they tell the world.
So it is very likely that there is a plausible explanation. And my guess would be it's like a defense contractor that's authorized by the government to do it. Yeah. But the answering and the explanations is driving me nuts. So you have Mayorkas saying, we're on it. Well, what are you on? Because you can't tell us what it is. Yeah. Chuck Schumer saying you shouldn't have to shake an 8-ball for an answer. And then the joint FBI and DHS statement saying there's no evidence of a security risk at this time. That's doing a lot of work at this time. Yeah. People are a little bit, it's a little eerie looking.
And if you're house hunting, apparently there's new tech startup platform that tells you the political affiliations of your potential new neighbors. Plus, I guess some real estate professionals believe that this could influence buyers more than the conditions of the home. Oh. And I think that is not a good idea, because number one, it's none of your business. And number two, it just fosters more division.
Yes. And to pretend that our divisions are just political is the best part, because jerks come in every political affiliation.
Progressives should defend Biden's legacy to protect their future. And EJ writes in part this: the trickiest problem for Democrats and progressives in the coming months will not be finding a new electoral strategy. A far more pressing imperative is to prevent Donald Trump's victory from discrediting Biden's genuinely impressive accomplishments and the course he set for the country, which was broadly correct. The truth about the Biden economy should not be lost in the mire of political defeat and messaging failure. It's a reality that will make it much easier to defend his domestic policy legacy. Defending this legacy is vital to battling against a sharp rightward turn in economic policy. Nicole Hemmer, a history professor at Vanderbilt University, argues this defense is equally important to preventing resignation from the left. One close election, she says, should not be misinterpreted as a mandate for abandoning pro-worker and pro-union approaches or a strong industrial policy. How Biden's term is remembered is not just about him, it's about the future.
So this idea that, everybody's fighting everybody right now, and everybody's screaming, and everybody's looking at Joe Biden as a failure, when the fact is, you just said it, unemployment, long-term unemployment, lower than any time in 40 years. As you said, black unemployment, lower than it's been in a generation. The U.S. dollar, stronger than it's been in 50 years over the Biden term.
Okay, let's sum this up. Let's talk about the shocking admissions coming out from the ladies of The View. We've got Whoopi Goldberg. First, Sonny Whoopi admitting that it's wrong and divisive to judge neighbors by their political affiliations. And I mean, isn't this the same show that practically demands you disown your family if they don't align with your views? Then there is Sonny Horstin, who is saying that she and the Democratic Party need to look in the mirror. Wow. She even says she's rethinking my thinking. I don't know what that means, but that it's time for the Democrats to do a little post-mortem. And this is really, really unprecedented. And I almost spilled my coffee reading this. Like, what? Am I watching The View? Oh, now I don't have any content to bash them. Anyway, but this whole thing just gets better, right? Sonny goes on to say that the Democratic Party has lost touch with the working class, and she remembers growing up in poverty and feeling like she missed the boat in realizing that so many Americans are still struggling. Yeah, she does. I think she's been rich for so long, she does not even know what struggling is all about. But then she admits that the party has become the party of college professors and removed from the concerns of the average American. That happened a long time ago. And it's almost like they are just now figuring out that policies have real world consequences. Just like Obama said, elections have consequences. Policies have consequences, right? Yeah, the panel is really big. Now, Sarah right here was admitting that she doesn't even recognize the Democratic Party anymore. And it's like they are finally realizing their condescending attitude towards a huge chunk of the country that are not really with their view, that are not really buying their view. Then one of the hosts here says nobody gave a damn about Trump being a convicted felon. Wow. Come on, lady. Wake up and smell the coffee, because everybody knows those charges were not, they were trumped up. They were really trumped up. She went on to make the point that it really backfired on the Democrats, because people think that if someone had served their time, they shouldn't be held back. But she also points out the many things that remember that in this segment she also pointed out that many think that the charges against Trump were brought against him unfairly, and that's the truth about it. They don't think everybody knows that's the case. Yeah, the American people saw through that, and they expect the same rules to be applied to everyone. The Democrats, the Republicans. It's just common sense. But the level of self-awareness and honesty is frankly astonishing coming from this panel. We all know this panel. I've bashed them a couple of times. In my opinion, using my opinion. And it's like, someone really slipped a dose of reality into their morning coffee. No, I don't think so, because I think the lawsuit, Trump winning the George Stephanopoulos, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but him winning the case against ABC, and George had to pay $1 million of his own money, have really spooked them. So they're trying to come out clear, straight up. And they're agreeing that it is really weird that the Biden administration is not being clear about what's happening with the drone thingy. Talking about this drone, it's been really popular the past under 24 hours. There's been this drone saga that nobody knows what's going on. So the ladies here, they try to address that, and they said it's weird. It's really weird that they have these mysterious drones flying over New York and New Jersey, and the government claims that they don't know where they are coming from, and they don't know where they are going or what they are doing. Trump says he's not going around there, and maybe Trump knows something that we don't know. But let's just get this: the largest technologically advanced military in the world has no idea where these drones come from. Do you believe it, people? I mean, that means one of two things, in my opinion. One of two things is true. Either there is a massive flaw in the military capabilities of America, or the government is just flat out lying to the Americans. And I know many people think they are actually looking for some kind of a missing warhead. There have been suggestions like that, which is, I think, a little concerning. But the lack of transparency is truly disturbing. I don't believe America is becoming Wakanda. Yeah, but anyway, let's just leave it. Some say it's conspiracy theory, but let's just leave it at that. But it was really refreshing to listen to Whoopi Goldberg talking about, or freaking out about, the new app. You saw her reaction. That tells you your neighbor's political affiliation. She called it divisive. Wow. Coming from Whoopi. Wow. And this is the same Whoopi who has been on TV for years, many, many years, promoting division, in my personal opinion. And she says it's none of your business, and that jerks come in every political affiliations. I didn't know she could see things this way. And this is a complete 180 from you shouldn't celebrate the holidays with your family if they have different political beliefs. Wow. Yeah, I think it's opposite. 180. It seems that way. And they finally, I think they are finally starting to have common sense. Maybe. I just don't know. But time will tell. But, I think the View is finally waking up on this MSNBC that is doubling down on their losing strategy. They want to promote Joe Biden's legacy, MSNBC, which is a joke, because to me that legacy is an absolute disaster. And according to them, the trickiest problem for the Democrats right now is not finding a new electoral strategy. I think it's to prevent Donald Trump's victory from discrediting Biden's genuinely impressive accomplishments, according to them, and the course he set for the country. They thought this past 4 years has been the best thing that has ever happened to America. But I don't understand, because the Republicans, they swept everything. The White House, popular vote, Senate, House, everything. But somehow they think that Morning Joe, they think that this had been the best American economy for some decades. Well, you be the judge. I don't know about you, but for me, I thought it's the worst that's ever been. And they say that his economic policies were good. Wow. And that these domestic politics were also great. They are really, really in complete denial. And they're trying to say that the unemployment is the lowest it's been for the past 40 years. The dollar is the strongest in the past maybe 60 years, since the 50s. Black unemployment is at a record low. They think by promoting the same losing arguments, they will win the next election, but they completely ignore how bad the economy actually is, the reality. I think Morning Joe, MSNBC, yeah, those guys, they are millionaires. I don't think they have really tested poverty for a very long time. And they think that how they live is the same like those middle class folks. They had been middle class once, but that's a long time. They thought that they're still, when the way things were back then is the same year. The inflation is just out of this world, and you can't deny that. I think it's just insane, like, that they think Joe Biden's legacy is really good. After he has printed so much money that 40%, I think 40% of all dollars in circulation have been printed over the past couple of years. Not just under Biden, to be fair, some with Trump, but that was due to COVID. So Joe Biden's legacy was already tarnished, in my personal opinion, before he pardoned his son. That was a deal breaker, right? It just proved to everyone that he puts self-interest over the interest of the nation and over the rule of law and respect for institutions. That proved everything. Everything. So, what does all this mean? It's really clear that even the most entrenched liberal, their voices are starting to acknowledge that their strategy isn't working. They caught me off guard. They clearly caught me off guard. Their admission are a sign of, I'll say, that the left is finally recognizing that things have not been if you look at reality, they have not been the way they've seen it in the past couple of years. But we have to really look at this with some skepticism. Are they really learning from their mistakes? Or will they go back their old ways tomorrow? Because with these guys, with these ladies, today they may say something, tomorrow completely opposite, and you're like, what? But we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, MSNBC is still living in their fantasy world, just trying to convince the American people that up is down and down is up, and that Joe Biden is a great president. All right, okay. Well, what do you think? What do you guys think? Are the ladies of The View finally coming to their senses, or will they be back to their same old nonsense tomorrow? I call it nonsense. Just let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for tuning in to the Black Coffee Podcast. Talk to you in a bit. Cheers.